All right. Welcome back, everybody, to the deep dive. As always, we have a fantastic topic lined up today,
hmm
and I'm so excited to jump right in. Today's deep dive is going to be especially relevant, I think, to all of you automotive professionals out there, all the dealership leaders and marketing experts. You know who you are. Today, we are taking a look at the 30-day AI protocol transformation.
Yes.
Specifically, we're going to be breaking down day 11 of that system, which is the communication matrix.
Absolutely. And, we talk to dealerships all the time. And one of the things we see is, teams doing great work in their own specific marketing areas.
Right.
They got, social media campaigns that are really killing it. Their paid search is really humming along. Emails are crafted beautifully. But sometimes it just feels like it's not all quite gelling, right?
Yeah.
It's like you have you got all these talented musicians, but they're all playing, their own separate pieces of music, and it's not quite a symphony.
That is a perfect analogy.
hmm
And, I think that really highlights the crux of this challenge that we're diving into today, this
Yeah.
siloed channel problem. We kind of think in these buckets, right? Facebook, Google, email. It's kind of how we break things up.
mm
But if you think about it from the customer's perspective, they don't really see it that way.
No, not at all.
Right.
Right.
They see your dealership as one whole entity.
Hmm.
They're not necessarily separating their experience into, oh, this is my Google interaction, this is my Facebook.
Exactly. They just think of the dealership. And that difference in viewpoint can really lead to missed opportunities.
Yeah.
So, you think about a potential customer out there, they might start their research journey on Google.
Right.
They might find a blog post on your website that answers a key question they have about a particular model. And then later on that day, they're scrolling through Facebook and boom, they see an ad from your dealership for that very model.
Right. Right.
In their mind, it's one continuous journey. But if your Google strategy and your Facebook strategy are living in separate silos, you might be missing out on the chance to really nurture that initial interest.
Absolutely. It's not as seamless.
Babe.
And I think a really good example of this came up in the recent case study we were looking at. This particular dealership, they were pretty proud of their marketing.
Yeah.
Right. They were cutting edge in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Dedicated teams, specific budgets. They had reports for every channel, Google Ads, social media, emails, everything.
Okay.
And on paper, they were meeting their KPIs.
Right.
Right. Each of those channels looked great on paper.
Individually, they were, checking off the boxes.
Yep. But when you step back and looked at the customer journey as a whole, a different picture started to emerge, right?
Exactly.
It wasn't quite as cohesive as it could be. So, you came in and helped implement the 30-day AI protocol and really analyze their customer behavior data.
Yeah.
What did you discover?
Well, the key insight that we pulled out is that the customers weren't really following those neat little channel boxes that the dealership had created for them.
Right, right.
Someone might start by searching Google, then they click on a social media ad, they browse the website, maybe they convert after receiving a targeted email. But the point is, it's this interconnected journey. And what we found is that the most valuable customers, the ones with the highest lifetime value, they were the ones who were engaging across multiple channels.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Sometimes even in the same day.
Really? So it really makes you think if someone's doing their research on your website, then they go and like a post about that same model on Instagram. They might open an email newsletter, with a similar offer, and then they click on a retargeting ad. It's all happening, sometimes within hours.
Exactly. It's not a straight line. It's this kind of like multi-platform experience.
Yeah. It's this web that they're weaving.
It is. It is. And that raises a really important question for dealership managers who, their goal is to get the most bang for their buck with their marketing dollars.
Absolutely.
What are they missing out on by sticking to this purely siloed approach? Because, if your marketing budgets are kind of locked in by channel, what happens if a bunch of great leads pop up on another platform, but your budget there is already maxed out?
Right.
Right. You're missing out. It's an opportunity lost. And it's ultimately an inefficient use of those marketing dollars.
Yeah. You're leaving money on the table. It's almost like you're playing defense instead of offense.
Exactly.
Right. Like you're reacting to whatever comes in that channel instead of proactively going out.
Mm.
So if that kind of traditional channel by channel thinking is becoming less effective in this, modern digital world, what's the answer? What should dealerships be doing to optimize their reach? I think that brings us to day 11 of the 30-day AI protocol,
It does.
the AI-powered communication matrix.
That's right. It really is a fundamental shift in how dealerships need to think about communicating with their customers. It's about moving away from those individual efforts and creating this unified, interconnected system.
So for a dealership out there thinking about adopting this, how would it actually work in their day-to-day operations? What would change?
Well, there are a few key changes that would happen. First of all, those marketing budgets, they would become fluid.
Okay.
They would move between channels based on where the best leads are coming from.
Oh, interesting.
Second, your messaging would become much more customer-centric. It would follow the customer across different platforms.
Okay.
So they're getting a consistent brand experience. Third, the content itself would adapt based on each customer's behavior and where they are in their buying
That
journey.
makes sense.
And then fourth, AI would step in to optimize your spending. It would find those top performing opportunities no matter what platform they're on.
Gotcha.
And then the last thing, maybe the most important, every single interaction the customer has with the dealership, every touch point becomes connected.
So it's like this truly integrated presence, right?
Exactly. And the impact that this has on a dealership's results, we've seen some pretty impressive numbers.
We have. We touched on some earlier, but maybe we could delve into those a little bit deeper.
Sure. So with that example dealership we talked about, the one that adopted the 30-day AI protocol, they saw their cost per lead drop by 40%.
Wow. That's huge.
That's because they were able to invest their money in the channels that were actually delivering results. And then their conversion rates jumped by 50%.
Wow.
And that's because their messaging became hyper relevant. It was hitting people at the right time with the right message. And then customer engagement across all their digital platforms, that went up by 60%.
Those are impressive numbers.
Yeah. And the best part for the dealership owner, the one who signs the checks, their overall marketing results doubled.
Wow.
And they spent the same amount of money.
It's like you said, being more efficient with their marketing spend.
Exactly. It's not about spending more. It's about spending smarter.
Right. Right. And I love the analogy you used earlier about, the difference between having all these separate musicians and a symphony orchestra.
Right.
Could you maybe unpack that a little bit more, specifically in the context of a dealership's marketing team, just to illustrate the power of this integrated approach?
Sure. So imagine each of those separate marketing efforts at a dealership, the online sales team, the social media team, the business development center.
Right.
They're all talented, dedicated, skilled musicians.
Right.
But if their strategies aren't in sync, if they're not playing from the same sheet of music, the customer feels that.
Yeah.
The communication matrix, with AI as the conductor, it brings them all together. Each channel, the website, social media, email, paid advertising, they become the instruments.
I see.
And the AI makes sure they all play together in harmony.
Right. Creates this beautiful symphony.
It does. And it's a far more powerful experience for the customer than just hearing all those instruments individually.
Absolutely. So we understand the benefits,
Yeah.
this shift that dealerships can make as part of the 30-day AI protocol. Let's talk a little bit about the nuts and bolts, how it actually works.
Yeah.
What are the layers that make up this integrated communication approach?
So there are 5 key layers that we need to understand. The first one is your content strategy.
Okay.
This is where you shift away from creating content for each individual channel.
Okay.
Instead, you focus on developing content that aligns with the different stages a car buyer goes through: awareness, consideration, and decision.
That's interesting. So can you give me a specific example of how a dealership might implement that?
Sure. So for the awareness stage, when someone is first starting to think about buying a car, you might create blog posts that compare different types of vehicles,
Okay.
like SUVs versus sedans, or explain the benefits of electric cars.
Right.
And this content is valuable, whether someone finds it on Google or sees it on social media or clicks a link in an email.
Right. So it's like one core message, but it's adapted for different platforms.
Exactly. And then as the customer moves into the consideration stage, you might create more in-depth content,
Okay.
like detailed vehicle reviews or videos that walk around the car or comparisons of specific models.
Yeah.
And then in the decision stage, when they're ready to buy, your messaging would focus on, limited time offers, financing specials, trade-in incentives.
Right.
And that messaging should be consistent across all your channels.
Makes sense. So that's layer 1, content strategy. What about layer 2?
Layer 2 is channel orchestration. This is where you really have to understand the strengths of each platform.
Oh.
You're no longer looking at them as separate entities. They all have a specific role to play in the customer journey.
So how would you break down those roles? Like, what are the typical roles that different channels might play in a dealership's AI-powered communication matrix?
Well, search engines like Google, those are great for capturing those high-intent leads, the people who are actively searching for, best truck for towing or
Yeah,
something.
right. They're ready to buy.
Exactly. And then social media platforms, those are really good for building that brand engagement,
Okay.
fostering a community, reaching a wider audience. And then email and SMS, those allow you to have those direct conversations with customers.
Yeah, personalized communication.
Right. And then you've got display and video advertising. Those are great for building awareness.
Okay.
And then retargeting is key for staying top of mind.
So every channel has its purpose. It's like a well-oiled machine.
It is. And then the third layer, this is where AI really starts to shine, is customer intent.
Oh, okay. Tell me more about that.
So AI can analyze all those signals from your different channels and figure out what the customer is actually trying to do
Wow.
in real time.
Okay. And how would that work in practice?
Well, let's say someone is on your website and they're looking at a specific SUV model. AI can see that and say, okay, this person is interested in SUVs.
Right.
So it can then start showing them relevant ads and content about SUVs on other platforms.
Interesting. So it's like it's anticipating their needs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or if someone starts comparing different trim levels or looking at financing options, AI can see that they're getting closer to making a purchase.
Right.
And then it can send them targeted promotions or even connect them with a sales representative.
That makes sense.
And AI can even see if someone is browsing your service department pages and then send them service reminders or coupons.
Wow. It's like it's reading their mind.
In a way.
Yeah.
And then the fourth layer is timing optimization.
Okay. So it's not just about sending the right message. It's about sending it at the right time.
Exactly. Timing is everything.
So what kind of things would the communication matrix consider when it comes to timing?
Well, it would look at when different types of customers are most active online,
Okay.
what days of the week they're most likely to engage, and it would also consider where each individual is in their buying journey.
That makes sense.
So someone who's just starting their research might get different messages than someone who's ready to buy.
Right. Right.
And it would also take into account things like seasonal trends.
Okay.
You know, promoting convertibles in the summer or offering special deals during holiday weekends.
Right. It's like being strategic about when you reach out.
Exactly. And then the fifth and final layer is personalization.
Okay. So we're talking about more than just putting someone's name in an email, right?
Right. It's about tailoring every single interaction to that individual's preferences and behaviors.
That sounds incredibly complex. How does the AI pull that off?
Well, it looks for those little behavioral triggers.
Okay.
Like what pages they're visiting on your website, what posts they're liking on social media,
Right.
and then it remembers all of their past interactions with your dealership.
Okay.
And then it uses all that information to create a truly personalized experience.
So it's almost like having a personal shopper for each customer.
It is. It's like having an AI assistant that knows exactly what each customer wants and needs.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So it sounds like AI really is the brains of the operation here.
It is. It's the conductor of the orchestra.
Right. It's pulling all these different levers and making sure everything works together.
Exactly. It's analyzing all the data, spotting those patterns, and making adjustments in real time.
Right. So it's not just following a set of rules. It's actually thinking and learning.
Exactly. It's dynamic.
Earlier, you gave that great example of the person researching SUVs.
Right.
Could you maybe walk us through that again, but this time really highlight how each of those 5 layers of the communication matrix comes into play?
Sure. So imagine that potential customer, they're on your website, they're browsing SUVs.
Okay.
Layer 1, content strategy. That's what makes sure they find those articles and videos comparing different SUV models.
Right.
Layer 2, channel orchestration. That's what decides what ads they see on other platforms. Layer 3, customer intent recognition. That's what flags them as a high potential lead for SUVs.
Gotcha.
Layer 4, timing optimization. That's what makes sure they get those follow-up messages at just the right time.
Right.
And then layer 5, personalization. That's what creates those personalized emails and offers that address their specific needs.
Okay, so let's say this person is browsing SUVs on your website.
Right.
What happens next?
Well, they start seeing targeted Google ads for those specific SUV models.
Okay.
Maybe they're scrolling through Facebook and they see a video highlighting the family-friendly features of those SUVs.
Right.
Then they see display ads for those SUVs on other websites they visit.
Okay.
And then they get a personalized email from the dealership that addresses some of the questions they had while browsing the website.
Gotcha.
And as they continue their research, maybe they start comparing different trim levels or looking at financing options. The matrix adapts.
Okay.
It starts sending them more targeted offers and promotions.
I see.
And then retargeting keeps the dealership top of mind.
So it's like this constantly evolving conversation with the customer.
Exactly. And then finally, based on all that data, The AI might even suggest that a sales representative reach out to the customer directly
Okay.
at just the right moment.
So it's like the AI is playing matchmaker.
It is. It's connecting the dots and making sure the customer has a seamless and personalized experience.
It's a really powerful system. So for all those automotive professionals out there listening, the ones who are responsible for their dealership's marketing, think about what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
Are you seeing these kinds of personalized journeys for your customers?
Right.
Are your different marketing channels working together?
Ask yourself that question.
Because I think the key takeaway here is that customers are so fluid now.
They are.
They're moving across all these different platforms.
Right.
And if you're not adapting, you're going to get left behind.
Absolutely. And the communication matrix, it's not just a nice to have anymore.
No.
It's essential.
It's the key to unlocking growth and staying ahead of the curve.
Exactly.
So as you're thinking about the 30-day AI protocol, really consider the power of this unified communication approach.
Yeah.
What steps can you take today to start breaking down those silos in your own dealership?
Right. What's the first step?
What can you do to create a more harmonious and customer-centric experience?
Start thinking about it now.
Because that's what's going to drive results in the long run.
It is. It's the future of dealership marketing.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We hope you found it valuable. And be sure to check back next time for more insights and strategies to help you stay ahead in the ever-evolving world of automotive.
See you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.